Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Head to Head Sports. I'm your host, Brian Parker, along with my co-host, Mr. Randall Hargrove. How you doing, sir?
Not well, brother. Not well.
Yeah. I bet. And we'll definitely get into why that is. I'm sure a lot of folks will. One of my friends, Brad, the LA Rams fan, sent me a Steelers meme, and he said, "Hey, I ain't trying to bash your boys' team, but this was a funny meme," and it actually kind of was. It was like a episode of The Simpsons where Grandpa walks in the door, takes off his hat, hangs it, turns right back around, picks up his hat, walks right back out the door.
I saw that meme. I know exactly what you're talking about. And where's the lie? Where's the lie?
There's no lie in it. No, it was as accurate. That's what made it funny, because it was like, oh damn. He didn't even sit down. He just sat there, walked in, got 2 feet in the house, turned right back around.
Yeah, I'm so, I don't know if you've seen the chatter in the cooler or not, but I'm on fire tonight because we have so many Mike Tomlin supporters and defenders, and he didn't have this and he didn't have that. So let's get into it. Anybody out there in the cooler that wants to chat it up, bring it on, man. Bring it on. I'm fully locked and loaded. Bring your facts. Let's go. I've been a Steeler fan lifelong. You guys are talking about the past 3 or 4 years. I'm going back 12 and 13 of this crap, man. So bring it on. Bring it on.
Absolutely. So we will definitely get into the Steelers, and the Steelers. The one thing that you can give them credit for is they don't jump ahead of their skis. They don't sit there and prematurely let a coach go. But sometimes maybe they hang on a little too long, or sometimes that sometimes even when you have a good coach, sometimes when you've been in a certain place for so long, it's time for just a new voice. It doesn't necessarily mean that the person can't be good. Look at Andy Reid. Andy Reid was in Philadelphia, and even though he had a certain level of success in Philadelphia, Philadelphia wanted more. And, Andy Reid ended up going to, of course, Kansas City, and tacked on 3 more Super Bowls. But all he could ever manufacture in Philadelphia was get into the conference championship, and no further than that. So sometimes you just have to change situations. And we've seen it even with players, where some players be on one team and
it just doesn't work
there, and then it just doesn't work. They go somewhere else and they flourish.
Exactly right. And let me ask you this. I see a lot of this one too. Oh, if you guys give up Mike Tomlin, who else out there you're gonna get, right?
Mm-hmm.
You never know until you try. You gotta try. You gotta throw it out there. You gotta do your due diligence and freaking try. I might let some cuss words go tonight just to warn you, Brian.
No,
I'm in a bad fucking mood. So you gotta freaking do your due diligence and try. Who knew about Dan Campbell before Dan Campbell became coach of the Detroit Lions? Was he on anybody's radar?
Who knew about Sean McVay?
Exactly.
Matt LaFleur.
DeMarco Ryans doing a great job in Houston. Who knew about him?
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of coaches out there that nobody knew about before they came onto the scene. So you can't just sit there and say, because what they're saying, Rand, is out of all of the usual suspects that we hear, who would be a better fit than Mike Tomlin? Well, maybe the idea isn't to just look at the usual suspects. Maybe that's part of the problem with a lot of these teams is all they think they now. Do some teams need maybe somebody that's kind of been around for a while that kind of needs to come in and set some kind of culture? Yes, but sometimes you just need that fresh face to come in. As much of a good coach as I hear Mike Tomlin is, man, you look at like some of his players where they just don't really seem like they're as engaged. And, Mike Tomlin to me has always come across as his persona is a disciplinarian. But when I see the way some of these players act, and I'm looking at some of these receivers of late, it just makes me think that maybe he's not as much of a hard ass in the locker room as he is in front of the media.
Exactly right about that, man. I mean, I've heard the stories as well. They got a couple of them out here right now about some tension between Russell Wilson and the offensive coordinator that was kind of swept under the rug all season. You got, of course, George Pickens and his crap that he was pulling, showing up late for practices, but still being allowed to go out there and compete. That's some bullshit, right? If you're a hard-nosed disciplinary coach, do something about that. Because the more leeway you give a receiver like that, he's just going to act out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's happened time and time again with these diva receivers, Deontay Johnson, Antonio Brown. Run the list, man. Martavius Bryant. What's the old dude that from Notre Dame got celebrating first downs when the team is trailing by 7 points with 10 seconds to go? Like that, man, that just rubs me the wrong way. And people want to say how much of a great coach Tomlin is during the regular season, and you're absolutely right. But when you go to the playoffs and you lose by 21 and 28 before it's even halftime, before you even turn on the freaking TV to some of the same teams that you competed against well and even beat in the regular season, doesn't wash with me, man. This is not a 3 to 4 year problem. This goes all the way back to 2012.
And more than one thing can be true at the same time. Could the Steelers benefit from a head coach? Yes. Head coaching change. Yes. Does that mean that that's the only thing that is ailing them? Absolutely not. The Steelers have been mired in mediocrity for a long time. This is one of the issues with getting to the playoffs count as success.
Mm-hmm.
Your team getting to the playoffs and getting bounced in the first round, in my honest opinion, unless you just have not been to the playoffs in a long time and you want to be able to give your fans something to be jazzed about, getting to the playoffs and getting bounced in the first round is a fan thing to me. Because from a team thing, I would rather miss the playoffs and get a higher draft pick. Yeah. Because if you have a mediocre quarterback at best and you make it to the playoffs, you've screwed yourself, because now the draft order will say that the chances of you getting a Jaden Daniels, getting a CJ Stroud, getting even this year's draft, Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, is next to nothing. You are not going to do it, because by the time your name is called, they will have already been through the green room and back out into the audience watching to see who else gets drafted.
That's exactly right. The Steelers historically have picked around I would say 20 to 21, maybe 18 at best for years now, unless they trade up and to get somebody. But right around 20 is where they're usually at. I'm just so sick of just being bounced out in the playoffs. And it's not as if it's like competitive games. I could handle that. I know that we're not going to win every game, not even asking that. But, look what Washington has done going into Tampa Bay with a rookie quarterback. Mm-hmm. And win, lose, or draw, by the fourth quarter, they won that game. I don't care what the score was, because they went into Tampa with the rookie quarterback and they hung in the game the entire time, as opposed to the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are down 21-0 before the second quarter even rolls around.
We knew the outcome of the game before halftime. We knew how this game was going to end before halftime.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And Tomlin wants to spit out all this crap about the standard is the standard. That is gone, yo. That is gone. Your standard is now.
My question is, what is the standard?
I'm telling you what the standard is.
Because the only standard is just miring and mediocrity.
Yeah.
And it could just be even too. You got to reimagine some of these play calls. Some of your play calls are just archaic, boring. You got to be innovative. That's what makes Sean McVay such a hot coach, because he's willing to try new things. That's what's making Dan Campbell a hot coach. He's willing to try things. Some of these fourth downs, He's willing to go for it, and he'll take the heat if it doesn't work. But a lot of times they do work, and it forces the defense to sit there and know that if it's 4th and 1, your ass ain't coming off the field. You're gonna have to sit there and hold the line, or them lions are gonna sit there and make you even more tired by getting a fresh set of downs on you.
Yeah, basically what Baltimore did to us all freaking game, right?
Yeah.
Have us guessing the entire game. And, we got a mobile quarterback too. Justin Fields sitting over there on the sidelines. He got in for 2 plays. That's it. In a game that we had to have. We could have used the same misdirection, the same mobility type crap on them that they wore us out with. And, you were saying about the standard being mired in mediocrity. The standard is the standard, whatever Tomlin wants to preach about for the past eons of years now, and ain't living up to it. The real standard is Baltimore. That's the standard. The Baltimore Ravens are the new Pittsburgh Steelers. 300 yards of rushing and only allowed 29 yards rushing. Who does that sound like? Does that not sound like the 90s Pittsburgh Steelers?
And I was gonna go right to that, because when you look at the team rushing, Pittsburgh ran for 29 yards in that game.
Exactly.
Baltimore ran for 300 minus 1.
Honest, is that not the 90s Pittsburgh Steelers?
Right.
That's what we built our brand on. Stopping the run and being able to run the football. Jerome Bettis, need I say more? But you want to go talking about the standard? No, the standard is now Baltimore. Baltimore is past y'all.
Your standard is stale.
Yeah.
Stagnant. It's in stasis. It's old. It's washed up. That line, that bravado has passed its course. You need to reinvent your standard, because what happened is that when your standard stays the same and everybody continues to keep moving, if your standard doesn't move and stay ahead of the chains of that, then all of a sudden your standard just isn't good enough anymore.
Yeah,
because you've held on to that same standard for so long, you haven't realized that standard is stuck in the mud. It ain't moved. Maybe it's like saying, you know what, back in 2015, this certain G-Wagon that I had was the standard. Boy, it had the sunroof, it had this, it had that. It had a nice little CD player in it and everything. Bro, that ain't the standard anymore.
It's 2025.
It's 2025. You got to upgrade your standards.
Exactly right.
There's nothing wrong with upgrading your standards, because the one thing that happens is change. Change is going to consistently happen. If your standard never changes, then what once was a high standard isn't even in the middle of the pack anymore. Now your standard is simply saying, because after a while, and the media sold us on this too, so many consecutive seasons of non-losing win.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's the standard.
That became the standard, is just win enough to be okay, but not ever good or good enough.
Winning football seasons, that's the standard in Pittsburgh. As long as we get, a winning season, hey, that's the standard. That's not good enough, man.
Your fans are accustomed to going to the playoffs. Hell, my team is accustomed to missing the playoffs. But at the end of the day, my team has been to the Super Bowl.
Yep. When's the last time Pittsburgh went to the Super Bowl? 2011 with Bill Cowher's offensive coordinator and Bill Cowher's defensive coordinator.
Yep.
Since both of those guys left and Tomlin was able to bring in his own staff, they have not had anywhere near the success that they used to have.
Before I dive any deeper, let me acknowledge Mr. Anthony's been on. Anthony, congratulations for your Commanders. I knew you were going to be pumped up about that. I did pick them to win the game, so I feel good about that too. He says, welcome to the winner's circle. So, sorry, I'm the only winner here. Nice little dig. Can we say Lamar Jackson is saving John Harbaugh's job? Lamar, you keep on Anthony, you keep on to push that narrative. I don't know what's going on with that.
I heard that question last week, and I'm gonna disagree with it again. John Harbaugh is a great coach.
Yeah, listen, Anthony. If Harbaugh was going against the grain, as I've seen a lot of coaches do when they have a talented player and not play into their strengths, then I would say he's a terrible coach. But he's letting Lamar be Lamar. Lamar won that game because he didn't sit there and lean on. Lamar did in this past game what he failed to do last year. Last year, he wanted to prove so bad that he was an elite passer that he did not play into the strengths that got him into the playoffs in the first place, which was running the ball. Then they go into the offseason and they get by far one of the best upgrades in a running back that you could get in Derrick Henry. And in doing that, it paid off tremendously because they did not have to sit there and try to be somebody that they weren't. And that paid off for him.
And
So
who are they?
all Derrick Henry, yes. And all Derrick Henry did, was he sat there and he ran for 186 yards at a 7.2 clip.
Exactly. And that's why I call Harbaugh a good coach. I know you want to put it all on Lamar's shoulders, but I mean, what has happened in games? I'm talking regular season games where Lamar goes out for a little bit or he's injured. The backup comes in there and Baltimore loses a little bit of steam, but still enough to win some football games because their backup does a comparable job. Does it really matter what running back has been back in the backfield prior to Derrick Henry coming? No, they've still run the football with other guys like Gus Ferguson and some others over the years. Does it really matter if they lose defensive talent? No, because they always reload. So I got to give Harbaugh his props.
And if you see under Harbaugh's tutelage, Lamar has become a better passer year after year after
year.
Numbers and you got to give him some credit for that. Yes, Lamar has to go out there and do that, but Lamar had over 4,000 yards passing and only 4 interceptions. Now, what has Lamar been known for throughout the course of his career is ball security. As great of a runner as he is, as much as he can make it look like it's a video game out there, one of the biggest knocks on his game has been protecting the ball, especially in key situations. And all he's done is gotten better and better and better. A lot of that has to do with coaching.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to give Harbaugh again credit for letting Lamar develop into the person that he is now, because the product that you see right now is not the one that came out of college.
Not at all. Even if you don't want to give that praise to Harbaugh and you want to say, oh, the offensive coordinator should have that praise or the quarterback coach should have that praise, it's Harbaugh that hires them. It's under his tutelage and they got to go through his system. So it's still Harbaugh, man. I give him the advantage for that.
Right. And Harbaugh is okay in the plays and stuff that they're called. Now, listen, I will say this. Baltimore has continued to surround Lamar with better players. I used to think, and I used to say this, that it would be hard for Lamar to get good receivers on the team because as much as he would run it, their opportunities would be very far and few between, that they would be coming there basically to block and pass protect, more so than catch passes. Over the years, he's gotten a Rashad Bateman. He's gotten a Zay Flowers. He's gotten Mark Andrews. He's gotten Isaiah Likely. He's gotten Derrick Henry. So they've definitely addressed even Nelson Aguilar, who's been an afterthought sometimes, comes in and will give you a 25-yard catch. Guys like that, where Lamar is, and now Lamar is actually making a lot of these players better. Where he wasn't a force multiplier before, Lamar was just a stats machine. So I think a lot of that coaching is, hey, Lamar, you can be Jordan and score 50 points a game and we lose, or you can be Jordan and score 35 points a game and we go 72-10. That is part of coaching just as much part. I mean, player development a lot of times is tied to coaching. So I won't beat that dead horse, but I think it's more of a symbiotic relationship, Anthony, than you may be giving credit. I think you may be giving Lamar way too much credit and Harbaugh not enough.
I believe so.
And I'm gonna jump the comments and then go to your other one after that, Anthony. But Anthony says Mike Tomlin and John Harbaugh are the same coach.
Disagree with that one.
There is no way possible.
John Harbaugh shows up in the postseason. I mean, yeah, they both have a Super Bowl ring. They're even with that, but John Harbaugh has the most playoff wins in the most road playoff wins in the history of the NFL.
Yeah, and I don't know, Anthony. Would you rather be Mike Tomlin right now, or John Harbaugh? I mean, that's almost laughable because I would rather be John Harbaugh right now because I know that my team can be more competitive right now than Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I'd
don't.
rather have John Harbaugh all day long, because Baltimore always shows up. Win, lose, or draw, they're always showing up. Playoffs or regular season, doesn't matter. They're the same team. Um, they're not getting blowed the hell out in playoff games. They may lose, but they show up and compete. And I cannot say that about my own team.
Absolutely. Pittsburgh to move on though, they're going to have to if they're and ran by all signs, you're not going to get your wish. It doesn't look like
Nope.
the Rooney's do not cave to fan pressure. They believe in Mike Tomlin, but if they're going to continue to keep Mike Tomlin is going to have to sit there then and reinvent Mike Tomlin. He's going to have to get away from his old cliches about the stand. He's going to have to say, this is what he needs to do. Come to a press conference, hold a piece of paper and says the standard. And then what he needs to do is rip it apart.
And start all over.
And say, we're going to set a new standard. From the time players come to the facility, to the way they are go to meetings, if players will not sit there and do it the right way, you will not see their ass on the field. You may not see them on the sideline because they may be a DMP coach's decision.
Yep.
And that is going to have to be the way it is. Now, I will say this. It's probably going to have to get worse before it get better.
Yeah.
You're going to have to rip the Band-Aid off, and you're going to have to say, you know what? We got to find us a quarterback. We do have to address the receiver issue. We cannot just have George Pickens as being a one and there's no two. It cannot just be Freiermuth as your number two receiver. That's
not modern football, man.
Or you're subsidizing and using Jalen Warren as your Swiss Army knife and becoming a receiver.
And that's not going to work either. I mean, he's too small for that and not fast enough. So I can understand the Rooney's holding on to Mike Tomlin. You're right. I'm probably not going to get my wish. They're not the ones that are going to make these big newsflash moves as far as trading a coach for picks. They just don't do that. And they like to hold on to their coaches. We see that. They've only had 3 in 50 some odd years. Tomlin is a good person. I'm not saying that he's not. He's not the type of coach that's going to go out there and embarrass the organization by doing something stupid in his personal life. And that means a lot to the Rooney organization because they want to keep that class act marker that, Pittsburgh is known as one of the classiest acts in all of the NFL. They want to keep that. They don't want their coach out there with getting no DUI or anything like that. And we ain't got to worry about that with Mike Tomlin. He's safe and he's good. He wins in the regular season. But, as hard as the Rooneys hold on to Tomlin cannot do the same with his coordinators. It is not working. He's loyal to a fault to the defensive coordinators. Terrell Austin should have been fired freaking yesterday, man. His offensive coordinator, he may give another shot, but he needs an injection of some new plays, some new, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's old. Those old schemes do not work anymore.
No.
And, when you get so dug into the past, you're going to get the results from the past.
That's exactly it.
and he's got to be able to again reinvent himself as somebody that has adapted. Look at Andy Reid. Andy Reid's been around forever. He's not using the same schemes and stuff that he used in Philadelphia. Hell, he got Patrick Mahomes throwing underhanded passes and stuff. You know, shoulder fades, jump ball passes, things like that. Things that he would have never seen Randall Cunningham do. you know,
Yeah.
This
And
is-
if a coordinator is not working for him, or even half the other teams out there with head coaches that are not having success, if their coordinators ain't working, they're not bringing them back, man.
right, absolutely, absolutely. And then again, holding players accountable has to be one of the biggest things because when you have malcontent players out there, they're doing their own thing, and yet they're still able to go out there, and other guys are not afforded those same opportunities. It does cause strife in the locker room too, and a certain you lose a little bit of respect from the players because uh, they see that you're going to be willing to extend certain courtesies to other players that they wouldn't be able to get for themselves.
That's it. That's it. And that's the kind of thing that's going on in the Pittsburgh locker room. Just coming to light, of course, because we didn't know this during the season. But that's the kind of stuff that's coming to light right now. Just the leniency being allowed by coach. And it's a little surprising because he gets up there and talks about not allowing such. So
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. The Mike Tomlin that I see at the press conference don't seem like it's lining up with the one that I'm hearing about in the locker room. And hey, don't try to fool us, because it'll finally come out like it is, and then we're looking at you like, well, wait a minute,
yeah.
what's up with that? Anthony said that Justin Fields will either be a Jet or a Giant.
I'm hoping that they don't let Justin Fields go. Russell Wilson is the older quarterback. If he wants to bounce, he can. He showed me that he was a good quarterback, decent, not explosive. And I don't think what we need as far as the running game. Justin Fields, again, he's very mobile, be another threat in the running game, same as Lamar, same as a lot of other quarterbacks are used out there as well. I think that would be the better choice. The younger guy, the more mobile guy, the one with the higher upside. Russ is on the downside now in his career.
The thing about Russ is doing what Drew Brees did. Russ is doing what Philip Rivers did. Russ is doing what Matt Ryan did. And what are you talking about, Brian? They show you flashes. He's doing what Aaron Rodgers did. They show you flashes. Can he do it for 4 consecutive quarters?
Mm-hmm.
The answer is no. He may give you a game where it'll make you go, that's what I'm talking about. But there's 17 games.
Exactly.
Can he give it to you for at least 13 of them like that? Or will he give you some fool's gold to believe that what you just saw in this one game will translate through the course of a season? The more you have to surround an aging quarterback with weapons, the less valuable they are to you. Because you're not going to always be able to get all of the higher skill positions all on one team at the same time. That's a very hard thing to do. And if you, like with Aaron Rodgers, people talking about, well, man, if they were just surrounded with a bunch of stuff, well, damn, if they got to do that, then you might as well get somebody younger. Because they said that about Bryce Young. If they would only just surround him with all of these things, he would be a great quarterback. Well, at least for a younger quarterback on a rookie deal, I understand that. But when you're paying a quarterback over $60 million a year, damn it, we can't have caviar at every position.
Exactly that.
I'm sorry. If you too old now, because you've been around, if you too old where you have to have everything around you perfectly, bruh, we can't do it.
No. Mm-mm. And Rodgers is the same dude as Russell Wilson. He'll show you some flashes here and there to be just enough to might win you some games. Mm-hmm. But the thing I see with both of those quarterbacks, and especially during the 5-game losing streak with Russ, it just takes them too long to get in the groove and get going, man.
Exactly.
You start off slow, you start off missing passes, you start off incompletion, you start off with a bunch of 3 and outs, which kills your defense, by the way.
Yep.
And all of a sudden you're trailing, and then you find your groove in the second half. Well, it's too late. It's too late.
Yeah. And then you end up getting a bunch of empty calories, as Shannon Sharp likes to call them, where, okay, now you start getting all these chunk plays and yards. Well, it's because now the defense is playing more prevent than they're playing man. They're playing a soft zone shell because all they're basically doing is just trying to keep everything in front of them. So if you're throw a bunch of 15-yard passes and you stay in bounds, that's only good for them because the clock is still moving.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people say, well, Russ was not the problem in that game. He was 20 out of 29. He had 2 touchdown passes. Okay. That's cool. But a lot of that came in the second half. A lot of that work came in the second half. There were a whole lot of unnecessary sacks taken and a whole lot of 3 and outs in that first half. And you can't do that in the playoffs.
Right. That's right. And that's the other thing. Taking a lot of unnecessary sacks. And why are you taking unnecessary sacks? Because when you're trying to get into that groove, you have a tendency to hold on to the ball a little bit too long. And you have to start taking sacks because now you're trying to find people. And I will give Russ credit. A lot of times he will throw the ball away, throw the ball into the dirt, those kind of things like that too. But when you're an older quarterback, look, time is undefeated. We all know that. We all know that players a lot of times hang on just a little bit longer than they should. Russell Wilson has already been a success story because he's an undersized quarterback that was able to stay in this league for a very, very long time, be able to do some of the craziest throws that I've ever seen from somebody of his size and stature be able to do. There's no shame in that. He's had a hell of a career. There's nothing wrong with him now becoming either a backup as more of a mentor to a young quarterback, an emergency quarterback, or basically, Russ, because of your charisma, I guess is what people want to call it, you probably even got a career in broadcasting. You could do a whole lot of things, and that would not sit there and taint your career at all. There's nothing wrong with that. Hell, you could probably become a quarterback's coach. I can see him doing that. He has a lot of options in front of him, but being a full-time starter should not be one of them.
No, man. The way that the league is built now with more 3 wide receiver sets, it's all about explosive plays. It's the explosive plays that break the back of the defense. When you're a defense, you got them at 3rd and 12, and you think you're about to get off the field and get some Gatorade and some oxygen, and they hit you over the middle with a 17-yard completion, 25-yard completion. It destroys your defense psychologically, man.
Yep.
And if you can't do that with your offense, the dinking and dunking ain't going to work on
and that's where I was going to go with that too. And I think the biggest thing with Justin is getting him comfortable with what he sees downfield. Early on in the season, he didn't play bad. It's just that you didn't get those explosive plays because even when the throws were there, he was too much in his own head, second guessing. Was he seeing what he was seeing? Because I think partially because he knew that if he thought that's what he saw and ended up being wrong, he was on a short leash and was going to get yanked.
That's exactly it. And you got to take into account too. Pittsburgh picked him up, but they did not pick up the extension part of his contract, right? So he doesn't want to go out there and have all these turnovers because it's going to cost them money.
Yeah,
those turnovers are going to cost them money when it's time to get that next big payday.
That's true, and segueing into the next thing with that, as far as players that may have played themselves out of a good contract, is going to be Sam Darnold.
Yeah.
I mean, when you go 14-2, I'm sorry, what was it? 14-3 rather.
Yeah, 14-3.
14-3, and not only do you lose, I mean, you get your ass whooped. I mean, that's all I can say. Like I did not see that coming. This was going to be billed as one of those big marquee games and everything, and it was anything but. We saw the Minnesota Vikings uh, show up. I mean, not show up, and the Rams sat there and took them to task, 27-9.
So I put this in the cooler as well. Body language is everything.
It is.
You can read somebody's body language quicker than what comes out of their mouth, as far as it being the truth. And when that camera zooms in on Sam Darnold and he has no clue as to where he's even at, and he's looking out into space like he's seeing 18 players on the defense, that man is seeing ghosts again. That man is what we call shook in the hood.
Yeah, he was shook.
He was shook, man.
And you could see even down the stretch that the pressure was starting to get on him. Like early in the season, we were like, man, dude is doing it. Man, it took him a while, but man, he's finally found his stride.
Nothing to lose.
If Minnesota doesn't pick him up or put the franchise tag on him, he is going to be a $50 million quarterback in free agency next year.
Mm-hmm.
But the last couple now, but what's going to happen is, even though I think he could still be serviceable, he's played himself into he doesn't have as much leverage as he did in the first 12 games of the season than he did in the last 5.
The last 2 games lost him a hell of a lot of money.
He's lost
a hell of a lot.
Lost millions.
Yes, literally millions. Just by a 2-game performance. You know, Sam Darnold, hats off to him. Very good season. Didn't see that coming. But I'll say this. He's played 3 high-pressure games in his entire career.
Yep.
One for the Carolina Panthers when we had to have a win in Tampa. He completely melted, bunch of turnovers. And, of course, the Detroit Lion game, which they were trying to win the North, and he completely folded in that primetime situation. Mm-hmm. And then once again in the playoff game, completely melted against that the LA Rams defense, which ain't even all that good. Let's be honest.
I know. That's why I didn't pick the Rams. And you know, I was on the last show. I was like, you know, Brad was sitting there, kind of like, "Come on now." I'm like, look, if the Rams were going to win that game, it was going to be a 10-9 game. It was going to be a 15-12 game. It wasn't going to be no damn 27-9 when you got Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and you got all them boys on the other side of the ball. There is no way in the world that you're going to be able to stop them from scoring like that. And somehow they did. And I said, you know why? Because Minnesota's defense is pretty good. And I said this, Matthew Stafford has a knack for sometimes throwing the ball to the other team. You know, he's high risk, high reward because he will throw a pick 6. After he just throws a bomb to Puka Nacua, then the next thing you know, he'll throw a pick 6. Another team will go the other way.
Turned out to be Sam Darnold that game.
Oh my God. And Sam Darnold still threw for more yards than Stafford. He had a better he didn't have a better completion. But I mean his 25 of 42, 45, a touchdown and a pick.
Sounds good.
Wasn't terrible.
Sounds good.
But he never got it in the end zone more than once.
Yep. It's the same thing we were just talking about with Russ, man. You know, he got a lot of them yards in the second half after the game was out of control. But when you allow yourself to get sacked like 8 times, I forget the number, but I know it was wow. Whew. You allow yourself to get sacked 9 times, and then you're losing the ball, you know, losing fumbles. One of them got ran all the way back for a touchdown. You allow that to happen to you in the playoffs, you're not winning, man. You're not winning. It's just not a formula for winning.
When you go 6 for 17 on third down,
that's not winning football either. When you're back there patting the ball and holding it, waiting for somebody to get open, and you don't want to throw it because you're not sure, and then you're looking to the left, you're looking to the right, and you're panicking, and the pocket starts to cave.
Like it's like now I know most black folks don't understand this. Y'all remember when you knew you was about to get your ass whooped? What did you do before the belt came?
Yep.
You flinched. Because you know it's coming, you're bracing for the hit. Because you know it's gonna hurt. You already crying before you get hit.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I ain't even hit you. I know, but you're going to.
Those prime time lights are very bright for first time quarterbacks.
It's the only
Sometimes,
game
a lot of times,
the only game on at that time is your game. The whole world is watching.
Yeah.
And you have not been in those situations. It really shows who you are. And the segue in that, Anthony, you have a rookie quarterback playing the biggest game of his young career. And he goes in with just, ice in his veins.
Mm-hmm.
This is this, not only are you a rookie quarterback that is going into this, your team has not been to the playoffs in 19 years. They haven't won a playoff game.
Haven't won a playoff game since 2005. Correct. A rookie.
Pressure much? On
the road.
On the road.
On the road.
On the road.
And is unaffected by the primetime lights. Doesn't give a damn about primetime.
All you do is go 24, 35, 268, 2 touchdowns, no picks.
No picks.
And lead your team in rushing with 13 carries for 36 yards.
Yep. Damn. That is ice in the veins right there, man. Commanders, y'all got a good one.
Yeah. This kid, he just is unflappable. He does not get rattled. He doesn't get in his own head. If he makes a boneheaded play, he shakes it off. He has a very short memory, which is something that you want in a quarterback, period, is to not sit there and get in their own head and now sit there and let the last play dictate what the next play is going to be.
Yeah. And for those of you that have never heard about the primetime lights being a thing, go back and watch both games. Look at the body language of Jaden Daniels. Look at his facial expression. Look in his eyes. And then go back and do the same thing with the Minnesota game. Look at Sam Darnold's eyes. Look at his facial expressions. And tell me what difference that you see.
And and to expound on what you're saying, think about being those other players in the huddle when you see a shook dude and you see another one that is too young to know he ain't supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Is too young to know that he's not supposed to be that good. And he's just sitting there exuding all this confidence. You ain't going to let that young kid with all that confidence in that huddle sit there and be the bravest one out there. You're going to have to say, man, I gotta get my shit together. I got to step up because
hell yeah.
I can't let this little kid down because he's sitting, he ready to go. I got to match his energy.
I'm a man up too.
I got to man
up too.
I got to match that because I can't be the reason that we don't get this done. Or, and I said last week, if they hang around to the fourth quarter, it's theirs to be had. That's all you do is give yourself a chance, and they did. They played the Bucs toe to toe to toe. Now it looked like at the beginning though the Bucs was going to take this, and I was getting a little concerned because the Bucs started out a little fast. Baker Mayfield is still doing Baker Mayfield things. 15-18, not a lot of passes, but not a whole lot of misses either. 3, 185 for 2 touchdowns, and 7 of them went to Mr. Reliable Mike Evans, 7 for 92 and a touchdown.
That dude's a monster, man.
He was wearing Lattimore out, wearing him out.
That dude is a monster.
Oh my God! Again, and I said it last week. I'll say it again this week. Mike Evans is one of the most underrated receivers in the league. You hear about CD. You hear about Justin Jefferson. you hear about all these other receivers out there. Mike Evans, because he plays in the NFC South, you don't hear nothing about it.
Nah, he just goes out there and just consistently does his job, man.
Strap up. Whether he got his Ace Boom, Chris Godwin out there or not, Mike gonna always show up. He don't do excuses. I would almost say that Mike Evans would say his standard is the standard because he plays consistently.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Think about a player like DJ Moore. There's sometimes when I'll be like, "Oh, he played that game."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. You look in the stats, you be like, "You can't find him." Mike Evans. Don't know where Mike Evans is on the field and see what happened to you.
He gonna remind you where he's at. He'd be the one standing in the end zone.
Yeah. FAFO all day long. So
yeah, gonna right.
You will find out. So so Washington played a great game. They're going to have a more what I consider challenging game this coming week when they have to travel to Detroit. Is it? Yeah, they have to travel to Detroit to face the Lions. I don't know how much of a chance that they have with that. I just think the Lions. Well, here's the thing. I will say the same thing again. If they hang with the Lions through the fourth quarter, they got a chance.
Yeah.
How they do that, I don't know. I'm a little worried about their run game because I have more faith in the Lions' run defense. I think there are opportunities to get got in the secondary a little bit just because they've just been depleted. If the Lions can rush 4 on Jaden Daniels and make him uncomfortable, that will be a thing. But when he is part of their rushing options, that scares me a little bit for the Lions. And again, the Commanders are playing with the wind to their backs because nobody expects them to make a deep run through the playoffs.
Hell no, nobody's going to expect them to go into Detroit and win.
People expect the Lions, at the very least, to make it to the NFC Championship game. And many people, including myself, expect them to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, hell, they were a half away from being in the Super Bowl last year.
Exactly.
So, of course, those guys are motivated to get back to at least the NFC Championship game. And their head coach is pushing the hell out of them to be able to do that and to deliver the city of Detroit a Super Bowl. It would be their first. So, yeah, those guys are on a huge mission right now. So, hats off to the Commanders for getting this far. But I don't think they get past Detroit, but they ain't no shame in that either.
No, not at all. Oh, God, not at all. Because by many accounts, they're early.
They are early.
I mean, nobody. If they had simply came in third in the division with a 9-8 record, I think most people would have said that was a success.
Absolutely.
I don't think Dan Quinn would be on any hot seats. Jaden Daniels would face any criticism or anything like that. Their season could have went a whole nother way, and they would have been just as safe. And people would still be saying, "Man, they got a lot of upside." But the fact they're already not only made it to the playoffs, won a playoff game for the first time in 19 years, and have the chance to go to Detroit and play the Lions. Man, you're already way ahead of schedule.
Yeah, you are.
I mean, next year is going to be like, how do you follow that up? That's going to be the thing, because now you don't put that playoff taste in them folks' mouth up there in the DMV. So now you're going to have to come back with something else. What's the second act look like? Damn, that was the first act? Shit. So, which again, it's bad because we got all these other teams out here that have been mired in mediocrity and worse, and they're going in the opposite direction. And yet you see Washington finally getting it together, and they've gone through a lot too. Ownership changes, all these controversies, name changes, just one thing after another that has beat this team down for so long, and it looks like they're finally coming out on the right side of it. So again, congratulations to those Washington Commanders for taking care of business.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Most props to him.
I said last week too that, and I said this for all of the games, and I even and you told me I was ahead of my skis kind of, and I was, but I thought that Bo Nix and the Broncos were going to show up a little bit better than they did against the Buffalo Bills.
Primetime lights, brother. That was Bo
And,
Nix's first playoff start.
and he started out hot. I mean, they scored. It was 7-3 after the first quarter.
Yep.
It was only 10-7 at halftime, and unfortunately, after that first touchdown that Denver scored, they never scored again.
Nope. Listen, that's just a tough environment to ask of anybody, any rookie to go into Buffalo and to pull out a win, So yeah, I was trying to warn you about that last week, but
I just said, you know what? Josh Allen a lot of times has to do too much a lot of times for his team to win. Now, he can do those things, but to be able to have to expect Josh Allen to be Superman every game is a lot to ask. Not that you don't have the cape and the tights in the closet, but you always got to go in the closet for y'all to be extra special. And he did do his thing. He was 20 of 26. That's crazy. 272, 2 touchdowns, no picks. But he also got some really good help from James Cook, 23 carries for $120. Even Curtis Samuel came through with three catches for 68 yards. So he got a good bit of help in this game that gave it more of a balanced game where Josh Allen didn't have to sit there and be the leading rusher, throwing the touchdowns, running for touchdowns, and things like that. Bo Nix was more of an X factor. Again, young guy. But it came down to this. He was also the leading rusher, 4 carries for 43 yards. When you've got McLaughlin, when you've got Javonte Williams back there, and Bo Nix is still having to lead the team in rushing. Now, a lot of those rushes was he got flushed out and then take his ass off and go to the field. Running for your life and running as a design play is two different things.
Yeah.
The fact 43 yards, that's crazy.
It's already a lot of pressure for a rookie quarterback to go into a place like Buffalo and be expected to win. That's a huge amount of pressure on a primetime, nationally televised.
Oh, big time.
But you see it, like the further and further they get behind, the more and more that pressure builds. And he just could not match it, man. I think he threw for 150 yards or something like that.
144.
140 for that ain't gonna win you no game, man. Not in the playoffs.
I know 13 to 22.
And that percentage either, no.
So, the thing is, there are a lot of teams that if they get out early and play with a lead, they're in a better position. And there's some teams that are good at playing from behind. Denver is not one of those teams yet. But I will say this, they finished the season 10-8. I would say the same thing that I said about them with the Commanders. They're a little early because you got a rookie quarterback. You got a second-year coach, even though it is a coach that has a lot on his resume. You're playing with a new team. They will have to address some issues in the offseason. Defense is probably not as bad as what they need to address on the offensive side. Bo Nix will need a few more weapons. He's going to need a better tight end play. They're going to have to upgrade their running back. They're going to have to get Cortland Sutton some help at wide receiver because a lot of times he gets taken out of games because they zero in on him and they dare you to find another receiver or beat them running the ball.
Yep.
And they turn you basically into a one-dimensional team. And in the playoffs, you cannot be a one-dimensional team.
No, sir.
Cannot. You can win a lot of regular season games like that, leaning into your strengths and just keep rinse, repeat. When it gets to the playoffs, weather changes, the stakes change. It's one and done. You got to be more of a balanced team than that. So, but congratulations to Denver. Great season. Didn't see that coming this year. I had more hopes for the Raiders than I did for the Broncos.
Yeah, but definitely something to build off of going into the off season, and probably a good draft. Hopefully, see what free agency moves that they make, and who knows for next year.
I think they're going to be really active in free agency. I think they're going to be aggressive, and they can be a little bit more aggressive in the draft too because they have their quarterback. Once you have
Exactly that.
and you're playing on a rookie deal, the
Playing on a rookie deal, yes.
idea is there's much stuff around him before you have to then pay him that next contract. So
Exactly right. Yep. Anytime you reach this level of success with a rookie quarterback, you are doing well.
mhm, mhm. And same thing with the Commanders. If they come
Commanders,
back and layer their team with even more vets and stuff like that, and some key draft picks, while you got this kid playing on this very very now friendly deal because of the way he's definitely outplayed his contract. Um, then you can go ahead and do some other things to make you even more competitive. You can lock down that number 2 in the NFC East and start vying for that going for the division.
yes. Get my man a number 2 receiver in Washington. That will open up that field a whole lot more than what he's dealing with right now.
You got McLaren on one side and another hot receiver on the other side.
Yep.
Maybe a Deontay Johnson. I hear that he's going to have a job at.
Boy, oh boy.
And I saw this today that the Ravens actually picked Deontay Johnson up. They claimed him.
Yeah, but he'll never play for them again. He won't dress for them. This is what makes Baltimore brilliant and why they keep on reloading. They found a loophole in the system
Yeah,
that if they picked him up, they could get a compensatory pick for the 2026 draft.
Yeah.
No other coach realized that except for Baltimore. So
yeah, and the way the compensatory picks work, if you lose a free agent and you lose more than you get, then you can be eligible for a compensatory pick. So they claimed him because they lost him as a free agent. Then he got dumped by the Texans for sulking in a locker room that was celebrating a win.
this dude, man.
I mean, everybody's sitting there popping champagne, and you sitting there crying like Boo Boo the fool.
Because you didn't get enough targets.
Even though, we about to go to the second round. Yeah, but I ain't get no catches. Oh,
Make it make sense.
bruh.
What is wrong with you?
Everybody in there high-fiving, hugging, celebrating. Deshaun Watson's masseuses are coming in. Everybody happy. I heard they were smoking cigars.
Smoking cigars, drinking wine. Not wine, but champagne.
Dude is sulking.
Where my targets at?
Man, this is the thing that got me. There was no way when the team reached out to try to gauge your interest in signing you that you thought that you were going to come in and be wide receiver 1 or wide receiver 2.
He literally thinks that, man.
I mean, listen, you got traded from Pittsburgh to Carolina.
Where he thought he would be the number 1 receiver in Carolina, right?
Carolina is almost they're the fat girl at the prom. They'll go with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
They let you go.
They let him go for sulking.
That wasn't doing nothing, said that we're better off without you. And we suck.
For sulking because the targets were going to Thielen and not him.
Yeah. We'd rather suck without you.
Yep.
Damn.
Yeah.
You go to Baltimore, a team that has aspirations of going deep into the playoffs.
That has a Zay Flowers.
Has a Zay Flowers and a Rashad Bateman. Mark Andrews is a catching tight end. Isaiah Light is a catching tight end.
Veterans in that system that have been there for a few years. You just arrive and all of a sudden you want to be the number 1.
Bro, even Nelson Aguilar catching passes. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So you start doing that mess there. Then I'm sitting there going, well, hell, he done. He ain't getting picked up this year. Then the Texans come a calling because, Nico and Tank Dell kept, getting hurt and stuff like that. I'm sure they told him, well, we're bringing you in because we got to be able to have an insurance policy. But
Some
that's
help.
the opportunity, Rand, is that, hey, because Nico and Tank are prone to get hurt, there's a good chance that if that happens and you're there, you can step right in and at least put on some good tape for the next team that you'll go to. The only
Exactly.
the only thing that you've been known for, other than not catching no passes this year, is crying about it.
Yeah. You know, if that was me in that situation, let me check my attitude. Let me put on my best behavior, my best performance. Show these guys that what
I'm a
the
pro.
national media is saying about me is false. But you
Right.
go in there and you show exactly why the national media is writing about you.
Oh my God. Man, I saw that. I'm just like, this dude here. Like, who is gonna, even if you are talented, who is gonna want to sit there and put that cancer in their locker room now?
And that's exactly what it is.
He is
That
a
is a cancer waiting to grow.
yeah, and because you know that, I mean, at least AJ Brown found a book to read that now apparently is a top seller on Amazon because of all the hype that it got. So
Yeah.
hey man, you just need to sit there and slow your roll, man. Showing that you're that immature is not a good look. That can derail your career faster than anything. What agent is going to be able to negotiate a good contract on your behalf when you act like that?
Exactly. And what we were talking about earlier, I don't know if it was text exchange or Facebook, but you're not Antonio Brown, bro.
At
Antonio
all.
Brown led the league in receiving yards for like 5 straight seasons. You ain't touched that. So Antonio Brown's agent, when Antonio Brown was acting up in Pittsburgh and other places, he was always able to get him a job somewhere just based on his resume and his talent. DJ, you ain't that, bro. Where's your multiple 1,000-yard seasons at?
Yeah. I mean, when you have visions of grandeur and you think you the baddest guy out there, like, are you doing something in practice that's making you think, oh, they're gonna see me, they're gonna see me in practice, and I'm gonna be elevated to wide receiver one. Bruh. No.
I'm gonna just show up on the team and I'm gonna be wide receiver 1 because my name is
Get everybody out.
Jason. Yeah.
Yeah. I know I'm coming in the 14th game of the season, but I'm gonna show them in limited time what I can do. And certainly if they got enough sense, they'll be able to see it. They'll see the same thing that I see. Man, that got me so riled up. I was in here just cussing up a fit by myself today because I'm reading this thing going, wait a minute. You mean to tell me everybody else celebrating and your ass is in the locker room sulking like you lost?
Because you didn't get enough targets.
You can't make this up. I'm like, wait a minute.
Man,
You just beat the Chargers 32-12. And you mad because you sat there and got, what was it, one reception for 12 yards.
I would have loved to be in a fly on the wall when that coach came to him and said, "Son, step in my office. We need to have a conversation."
Now, and in all fairness, Nico got 7 catches for $122, but Nico is the featured receiver.
Of course, and he's gonna remain that.
Yeah, if you thought you were going to come in there and do anything but sit there and be the third or fourth option, you should have never signed, bro. Like, I don't know what they're telling you to make you sign or what you think they said before you sign, but something ain't lining up, bro. You got to check yourself. And to any young players out there, y'all got to leave your egos at the door because you got to be able to show teams that you are a pro. You got to be able to show them that you know you have a certain sense of humility. It will get you places because then if an injury or something like that does happen and they're able to count on you, but you already also had a rep that the Ravens got rid of your ass because you refused to go into the game. You refused. No, I ain't going in there. Okay, then. So you're going to show your team that, hey, they can't count on you because you ain't sitting there thinking that you're being utilized the way that you think you should be utilized. So you're going to make them feel some kind of pain. So it ain't about the team, it's about you.
Of course. No, I ain't blocking. No, not me. I'm a wide receiver. Okay. We'll see ya.
Bruh, that's crazy. Anywho, so we talked about the Chargers Texans 32-12. Man, I did not pick this game because the way the Texans have been limping into the playoffs and the way that I said, well, man, Justin Herbert is just going to have a field day with them because that defense is going to get after CJ Stroud. He's been holding on to the ball too long, taking a lot of unnecessary sacks. This is not going to bode well for CJ Stroud. Now, he did get sacked 3 times, but I've seen him get sacked way more than that. And they forced Justin Herbert to throw 4 interceptions in that game, Rand. That was a lot of the Texans just playing in the moment and basically playing a style of football I haven't seen them play damn near all year.
Yeah. And I feel bad for Herbert because his wide receiver core is absolute ass. I mean, they have and nothing else. Quentin Johnson is a 6'5" soft cookie dough bitch on the football field.
I detect no lies.
Going across the middle of the field and the ball right in your hand and you doing one of these instead of catching. Come on, man.
Well, he's got McCarthey. McCarthey went balled out 9 receptions for 197 yards.
Yeah, dude ain't no joke. I mean, I liked him coming out of the draft. I was thinking about him for the Panthers instead of X-Man. But
yeah, between him and Brock Bowers, man, boy, them some beasts. Robbie Jenkins, sup, brothers? What's going on, Robbie?
Oh, Robbie,
man. But yeah, that was just awful. That was awful to watch. It was good to see the Texans actually come and show that they could play. I saw CJ Stroud being more decisive, taking off and running when he needed to. Joe Mixon getting back into the running game. He had been gone, 25 carries for 106 yards, but by far over the last several games, his best outing. So everything kind of came together at the same time. You had a quarterback that was being decisive, protecting the ball, keeping it out of harm's way, on lunch at the moment. Nice. The running game getting off, the running game setting up the passing game for Nico Collins to get those 7 receptions for 122 yards, to get Deontay Johnson 1 catch for 12 yards. So that was all good. So they came out and did what they had to do. Now they have to sit there and what happens when you beat up on the Chargers like that? Now you win a game to go play against the who is it? The Chiefs? Yep. Now you got to go to Kansas City, and as Jamal Charles would say, the Kansas City Chief.
The Chiefs, man, I like them in all, but I swear they got just the road lined up for them to go to the Super Bowl every year. And here it is again. Here it is again. They get the Texans delivered to them on a platter. And they get back and watch the 2 best teams in the AFC, probably, Buffalo and Baltimore, beat each other.
Kill each other.
Yeah.
And you have to limp into.
And then limp into Kansas City when they're done. I swear the Chiefs get the best.
That's a setup. Now, when somebody want to tell me that there's some fishy stuff going on in the NFL, I don't think you can rig a game, but I think you can rig a schedule sometimes.
The yellow brick road runs straight into Kansas City, bro.
Oh my gosh. So let's look at these divisional round games because this weekend is going to be absolutely off the chain. With the Texans going to the Chiefs, that should be a pretty, I don't want to say an easy game. I think the Texans can be competitive, not running the ball, maybe passing the ball a little bit if he doesn't hold the ball too long. That's really going to depend on how many times Chris Jones is in the backfield, is in front of.
That dude just disrupts everything.
He's a disruptor. So I mean, y'all got to have an answer. Run your plays. If you see him lining up on the right, run your plays to the left. That's the only advice I can give you. If the quarterback has to sit there and run to the left. If he lines up on the right, that's the only advice I can give you, CJ. If
It
not,
is such a luxury to have a guy that can collapse the pocket by himself.
it's crazy to watch. It's and trust me, he gonna eat. You ain't gonna stop him every time. Even if you double team him, that's gonna let somebody else loose.
Yeah.
They will have a spy on him. They're gonna contain him. They're gonna try to probably dare him to throw into that secondary and try to prevent Joe Mixon from getting a whole lot of yards on the ground. Your
Yeah.
best defense against the Kansas City Chiefs is to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline any way that you can.
Any way that you can. That's going to be hard, man, because you got one wide receiver that everybody's going to focus on, and you got one running back that everybody's going to focus on too. And like I said, when Chris Jones could collapse your whole pocket by himself, like Donald used to do with the Rams, that's a hard game to win. It's a hard ask.
Robbie has given us his picks. KC, Buffalo, Detroit, and my upset. You better not, Robbie. LA Rams over Philly.
Yeah.
I don't see that. Yeah, I don't see that upset. Now, if I were to pick any upset ran out of these four, so let's talk about an upset. The only one that I would even remotely touch is the Ravens over the Bills. That's the only one I would touch. Only because both you got two running quarterbacks, that negates it. But when I look at the tight ends for the Ravens and the tight ends for the Bills, I give it to the Ravens. When I think about the running back for the Ravens versus the running back for the Bills, I give it to the Ravens.
I haven't even seen the Vegas line on that one. In my eyes, though, that one is so evenly matched. How can you really say that there's an underdog? I would say it's got to be a 1 point, maybe 1.5.
Yeah, well, I would think it's 3 only because they may give the home team 3. Let me see.
Yeah.
The line is around. The line on that game is. You were right. 1.
1, man. Yeah. 1.
And they're giving it to Baltimore.
Yeah. So you can't even really see there's an underdog in that game. That was just
they're giving the points to the away team.
Yeah, I mean, hell, after what they did to my team.
That's what I just said. I'm taking that.
Yeah.
Man, me and FanDuel had a good weekend. Better one. Oh, I've been hitting so good off of these, man. It's crazy. But yeah, as far as the Rams over Philly, that line is they give Philadelphia 6.5.
Yeah, I can't call that one. Not for the Rams. I'm trying to think what is the other one that's out there. I'm forgetting right now.
Detroit. Commanders.
Commanders at the Detroit Lions. Yeah. If I had to pick an upset, that one would probably be mine. But I don't think it's gonna happen.
Oh yeah. Oh, you mean from a gambling standpoint?
Just out of the 4 games that we'll see this weekend, if I had to pick one, the most realistic chance of a true underdog, because I'm dismissing that Buffalo Ravens game.
Yeah. The only reason I even call the Ravens somewhat of an underdog is that the Bills had a better record and that the Bills are playing at home. But I think the Ravens are more of a complete team than the Bills. So just because they're the away team, I wouldn't say it's really. And Vegas seems to agree because they're giving them the points against a home team. Because, like I said, normally if you're basically the same, they'll at least give 3 points to the home team, and they're not. Now it's only Wednesday; it could shift a little bit, but the early outlier is to lean towards the Ravens by 1.
Yeah, that one. I was just feeling that was just too evenly matched to give 3 to the home team. But
Yeah, I
yeah.
agree. I agree. But yeah, you normally would see that though. But and then like I said, the Rams and Philly is 6.5. So
Yeah.
Robbie, Vegas don't agree with you.
Yeah, I don't agree with you either, bro. But
Oh,
knock yourself out.
I mean, again, because again, Robbie, yes, you have Cooper Kupp and Puka Nakua for the Rams, but what I'm worried about with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nakua isn't them. I'm worried about the defense on them. And you having to then rely on your run game with just Kyron Williams, as good as he is, having to either catch passes out the backfield as a check down or actually trying to get through them Georgia boys on that line.
It's a whole different element than playing in nice, comfortable, lush LA
I was gonna say
and
that too, but yeah, that well,
going to Arizona where it's still nice and comfortable and lush. But now you're going all the way cross country to play in freaking Philadelphia at nighttime. It's a different
Brickadelphia.
element, man.
It's gonna be Brickadelphia. It's
Yeah,
gonna
yeah,
be
yeah.
brick.
But yeah, you stay with them Rams, man. You may be right. I doubt it. We'll see next week.
Yeah, I had to hit up Brad over the weekend and say, hey man, your boys came to play. He says, I'll stick with the Rams. Yeah, you do that. That ain't no problem. You do that. Please do it in the
in prime time. In prime time.
Please do it there too.
Make my job a lot more comfortable at the top, please.
Because I'm currently in 7th place. I've been doing all right all year. And I think I'm like tied with some people too. So I don't even know if it's truly 7th or however that is. But yeah, go ahead and do that, please. Because I know I'm going to pick the supposed upset with the Ravens just from a head-to-head pick. As far as the points, though, I would even take the points for that Ravens game, to be honest with you. The Rams and the Eagles, I could see this game being one or two ways. A lot of people worried that the Eagles beat the Packers 22-10. Their offense didn't look explosive. Y'all got to remember, Hurts has been out the last 2 games because they've been in concussion protocol. I look at that game as him shaking some rust off. Expect to see Jalen Hurts be a lot sharper in this game. Expect Saquon Barkley to get at least 2 touchdowns in this game. I already said it. Expect A.J. Brown to get than just 1 reception. I expect him and Devontae Smith to have over 70 yards apiece.
This will be a 100-yard game for Barkley on the ground. So you could stop right there, man. You know what usually happens when you have a 100-yard rusher in a playoff game.
Yeah, because you're also controlling the clock. Yeah. Again, the best way to stop a quarterback is to keep his ass on the sideline. And if your premier back is running for over 100 yards, that's a whole lot. Oh, Robbie says I'm in second. He is.
Yeah, he's in second place.
Okay. So you've been good up until this point. So please, Robbie, I want
Brian's trying to catch you, brother. So
I want you to bet. I want you to go for the Rams, the Commanders, and the Texans. and I got a feeling that next week I'll be in second. Please do so. I gotta need it. I had a disappointing fantasy season, so please do that for me because I can't remember who's in first place. But
I know him real good.
You know him real good.
I know him real good.
You do. All right, so I take it you're taking the Chiefs over the Texans, and the Lions over the Commanders.
Yeah.
And Eagles over the Rams.
Yes.
Where are you going with Buffalo and Baltimore?
Dude, that one's hella hard for me. They're both built for the outside. They're both built for defense. You got 2 quarterbacks that can both run the ball. You got 2 running backs that can both run the ball.
You do.
And both teams have wide receivers that are not all that. So I think Baltimore is having Zay Flowers back for this game from what I hear, but there'll be some rust that needs to be shaken off there. I don't know, man. I think I'm gonna lean Buffalo until Lamar shows me something in the playoffs on the road. So we'll
I,
see.
I would agree with you normally. I think Baltimore, and maybe I'm projecting and wishing, but I think Baltimore this year is trying to shake loose some of those demons from years past that when they get into the playoffs, the moments get too big for them. They try to reinvent themselves on the fly into being something that they're not. I think with the addition of Derrick Henry, it's grounded them to be more of a run-focused team that lets Lamar be more opportunistic with his passes. His receivers don't have to be that good because the threat of the run is so great.
It is a huge threat.
It
It
is
is a huge threat.
then you cannot simply double team Zay Flowers. You cannot double team Bateman because Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely can come across the middle and catch passes that will continue to move the chains. It's like he's a kid in a candy store because of all of the things that he has. And unlike Brock Purdy, he is also one of those weapons too. So think about a Brock Purdy that had the skills of Lamar Jackson. Because all people ever say about Brock Purdy is, well, hell, he got McCaffrey, he got Ayuk, he got Samuel, he got Kittle, he got all these things around him. He can just sit there and pick his poison. But the one thing he can't do is do what Lamar does.
Yeah.
When you flush him out. So now you take Lamar, and I think that is going to translate, especially when you got Derrick Henry doing what he's doing. I believe in James Cook, but I believe Derrick Henry as a runner got more explosive plays in him. And I've seen Derrick drag 5 people. I got nothing. I've seen this man. I don't even know if he's human. I've seen him drag 5 people like 5, 6, 7 yards. And I'm looking at him like, how? If you don't get him in the backfield and he start to turn up field on you, you got to make a business decision. I don't know if people make business decisions trying to tackle James Cook. But if you see King Henry coming at you with a full head of steam, you really got to think about that next contract.
Yeah. I can say that Lamar is definitely motivated to erase all of that bad press about his past playoff performances. There's no question about that. Will he do it? Who knows? It remains to be seen.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's close it out with this. As a surprise, not a surprise, Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy have parted ways for Dallas Cowboys, which is totally hilarious because first Jerry says, "Yeah, I think Mike should be able to talk," and then when I get on the show last week, the Chicago Bears the day before had asked to talk to him, and Jerry said no. So most people said, "Well, dang, if he's telling people they can't talk to Mike McCarthy, obviously he's going to resign it." But you got to remember with Jerry Jones will sit there and act like he going to want to sign you. But when he comes to the table, he going to expect you to take some kind of cowboy discount that he thinks you should do just for the pleasure of being the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. So apparently the amount of years that Mike McCarthy wanted in the contract was not something that Jerry was willing to do.
Yeah, and on top of that, he already has Jason Witten named as a potential successor for McCarthy. And McCarthy is not feeling that because Jason Witten has zero freaking experience.
Unbelievable. So, and I keep hearing people float around primetime Deion Sanders as a potential candidate too, because Jerry's already called prime. Brand, I don't see that happening only because besides the star on the helmet and on the field, Jerry thinks he's the star.
Yeah. Yeah. The only shot they really have of that is if somehow they can trade up the first 3 picks and land Shador.
Yeah, I don't, and even, and that would just be almost impossible.
Yeah.
But I just can't even see Dion. Dion may love Jerry. Dion may have played for Jerry. It's different when you're a star player, but anybody think of the last time Jerry had a star coach and how did that work out? Jerry is not going to sit there and do press conferences outside the locker room and then go, okay, Jerry, we got to wrap this up because we got to go see Prime. He ain't going for that.
Nah.
At all. And Prime is going to want to be involved in picking the players, the final 53, and a lot of the other things that come with team-oriented decisions. And Jerry has made it clear that he bought the team as an occupation for him to do that and nobody else. So,
yep, and we all know what happened to the last coach that thought he had equal power to Jerry. He was basically banned out of all Dallas.
exactly. So, guys, with that said, though, so you've got Dallas as an opening. You still got Chicago as an opening, even though there's been some interviews there. You got the Jets still as an opening. You've got the Jaguars as an opening, and you've got the Saints as an opening. The only coaching hire that has happened was one that was expected with Mike Vrabel going to the New England Patriots to replace one-year coach Gerard Mayo.
Good landing spot for him and a good acquisition by the Patriots.
Absolutely. So we'll see how that goes. We've got 24 spots in the draft locked up. We'll talk about that a lot more on the next show, as well as the biggest needs and things like that going into the offseason for these teams to really see, are there going to be any shakeups with who has the number one pick? The number one pick currently rests with the Tennessee Titans. We'll talk about, hey, are they going to really sit there and go back in and try to get another quarterback, or will they give Will Levis another chance? That kind of thing. The Cleveland Browns are going to be second. Even though they've got Deshaun Watson, he sat there and tore some ligaments not too long ago and just had surgery and may miss most of the next season.
He will miss all of the next season. That type of dude with that type of build and that type of character ain't coming back.
So again, are you going to be are you going to sit there and go ahead and rip that Band-Aid off, take some of that dead money, but go ahead and address the fact that you need a quarterback going forward? You cannot count on Deshaun Watson to be your future. You've already made the payment. There ain't nothing you can do about that. It's like paying somebody on Cash App. Once it's say completed, you can't get it back. It's already it's there. But you don't have to keep living with that decision. You can go ahead and understand that you need to move on. So we'll get into that.
It's basically the only thing that they can do to equal out that deal is to get you a quarterback that you could have for the next 4 years on a rookie deal. They have to take a quarterback.
Yeah, they really do. They really do. So we'll definitely get into that. But y'all, it's going to be a great weekend, even though it looks like Kansas City is going to snooze through their game. It looks like Detroit should have no problem with the Commanders. We'll see if the Rams can give Philly enough of a fight. But that Baltimore-Buffalo game is going to be one to watch, y'all. I ain't going anywhere. Anybody try to call me, my wife try to say 2 words to me, it's going to be a problem. So we'll see how that goes. Y'all have a great weekend, Rand. Take it easy, man.
Take it easy, bro.
We'll see y'all next time. Y'all be good.